How has van life helped me survive the great polar vortex of 2021? Hey y'all, welcome to Ginger Walkabout and the winter of our discontent. Man, I tell you what, it has been nasty down here in Texas. We are in day 5 of being below freezing. And before my northern friends get all up on their high horse and just start talking about how we can't handle it, let me explain to you that you wouldn't be able to handle it either if you had 0 snowplows. Your pipes were only buried 6 inches under the ground, and you heated your house with electricity exclusively. Okay, we're just not built for it. We are just not built for it. That's why we are getting our butts kicked down here. So let's talk about how living in a van for a year helped kind of ease me into this. The situation we got going on right now is that we've got probably about 6 inches of snow on the ground. It's been below freezing for 5 days. And we're expecting another 4 to 8 inches of snow tonight. And we've got another 5 days of below freezing to go. So this has caused a few issues. Obviously, we're concerned about water pipes freezing. And either bursting or least of which just not having water temporarily. We are also experiencing what I've always known as load shedding. Others may call rolling blackouts. I am lucky. I am only losing electricity for about 15 minutes every 40 minutes to an hour. In fact, the electricity is out right now. It'll come on, it'll kick back on here any minute. So for about the past 36 hours, the electricity just shuts off for 15 to 20 minutes every 40 minutes to an hour. It is more of an annoyance than anything, and it's certainly much better than some people who've been without electricity now for 30 plus hours and have no heat in their home. And it was, at least here last night, a wind chill of negative 22. So that's a pretty serious situation. So let me just point out a few of the things that living in the van has helped me to adapt to this current situation. So there it is, my very frozen front yard. But what is up here in the window is my MIMO antenna, and it is connected up to my Verizon jetpack that I still have, and I still pay $150 a month for. It's what I had in the van, and I still have it because it's my backup. It is right now how I have internet when the power goes out. So I have satellite internet out here in the country. But when the power goes out, it goes out. So I have to rely on cellular. So I still have my Verizon jetpack and my MIMO antenna up here in the window. And that is what is allowing me to still have internet to work. I also still have, I'm keeping charged at one of my lithium batteries that I can just plug all manner of things into. Because if the power does go out for longer than 15 minutes at a time, then I may need to be able to charge my phone or my laptop or something like that. So I'm also keeping that charged up. So my big computer back there, there's the monitor and my computer. Now that is the computer I used in the van. But of course the van was a big battery. So, you really didn't have electricity go out per se. You could run out, but it didn't just shut off. But here in the house, the big computer, when the power goes out, the computer goes out and the monitor. So I'm working off my laptop, which of course has a battery. So when the power goes out like it is now, it runs off the battery, and then when the power comes back on, it charges back up. And so that's something that I always had in the van too, so I could work outside the van, or if I needed to conserve power in the van, or something else went wrong, I always had my laptop. So, and of course, if you camp, you're gonna have flashlights. So now I'm camping in my house, so I carry my at night. During the day doesn't obviously bother me. There's enough, it's bright enough in here. But at night, man, you don't know where you're going to be when the power goes out. It just goes. So I carry my flashlight around in my pocket. So no matter where I am, I can throw the light on. And then I have this little battery operated lantern. There we go. It's LED, so it doesn't take a lot of juice. And so that's my additional ambient light when the power goes out at night. And so I just open it when the power goes out, and when the power comes back on, I turn it back off. So, of course, one thing did have to manage in the van is climate control, specifically in the winter, heat. And so here in Texas, most people heat their house with electricity. But obviously right now, depending on how long your rolling blackout lasts, that may or may not be a viable option. So obviously I do have the heat turned on when the electricity's on, which is fine. But when it's not, I have an alternate source of heating. So I have my gas fireplace. So this runs on LP. I got about 250 gallons of LP in a tank out in the yard. And so I'm running this. I mean, I turn it on and off during the day, but like last night, I ran it all night because it was cold here, y'all. And I noticed that my heat pump, my electric heat pump, will not keep the temperature steady with the rolling blackouts. So I was noticing, even with the power only going out 15 minutes at a time, that the heat pump, I was losing about a degree per hour here in the house. And so to augment the heat, I am using my gas fireplace. And it's probably not designed to be run all the time, but this is extraordinary times. We need extraordinary measures. So having two sources of heat, I think, is important. Obviously in the van, I had electric and propane, and now in the house, I have electric and propane, and that has been a very good thing. So again, like I mentioned, down here in Texas, we consider the freeze line to be 6 inches underground. So a lot of our pipes are, water pipes are not buried much deeper than 6 inches. And so we gotta, we've been, 12, if we're going to go 12 days below freezing, and some of those temperatures, I mean, we've been below zero, on a couple of these nights. So, very concerned about the pipes freezing in the house, and especially the pipe from the road to the house. I'm on county water. So the pipe from the road to the house. And so that's something you worry about in the van too, right? If temperatures drop, you don't want your pipes to freeze in the van. And so what we do here is, try to keep the temperature in the house up, but then also, we leave our faucets running, right? So this sink here in the laundry room is the furthest from where the water comes into the house on the other side of the house. So now that's not a drip, that's a steady stream. When you got temperatures like this, that's what you want. You don't want just drip, 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 because drip, drip, drip ain't gonna move enough water. So this sink and another sink in the bathroom I have on constantly like this. It's already been 4 days, and it's going to be another 4 or 5 before we're above freezing again. So, I mean, it's wasting a lot of water, but it is what it is, right? I mean, I got to keep that pipe from freezing, because you do not want burst pipes, man. That is bad news bears. All right, so the power just came back on. Yay! There's Whiskey Dog staying warm and toasty. So I can hear everything come back on, lights come back on, heater come back on. So now I can show you here in the bathroom one other thing I've got. So in case the pipes do freeze, and I no longer have running water in my house, I have filled up my bathtub with water. That way, I mean, I have got bottled water to drink, but I could use that for toilet flushing, hand washing, blah, 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 blah. Whatever I needed water for, if the water no longer was flowing. Same as I kept like gallon jugs of water in the van in case I ran out of water and needed that. So that's another thing that the van taught me, is have some backup water. Now you're probably asking yourself, what about the van? How's Lucille doing with all this? Because, I posted a video not too long ago, little ginger snap, about, it's so easy to keep your van, all good to go down here in the South in the winter, because we don't winterize or nothing. So how's that going? Well, let's go check on her. All right. So yeah, it is snowy out here, y'all. No doubt about that. It is cold, 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 cold. All right. Into the shop. There it should be. All right, power's on right now, so I can turn some lights on for you. All right, so we're in the shop. Now, as you can see, the shop is fully spray foam insulated. Thank God. So I brought this cup of water out here when we got below freezing for the first time, and that's been my test to see how the shop's doing. And the shop is doing fine. The water has never frozen, which I am absolutely floored, shocked, and delighted by. So the power going on and off has wreaked a little bit of havoc. The problem is that with the heat on electric and the tank heaters on, it requires the inverter to be on, and that sucks a lot of juice. So last night, I went and switched the heat inside the van over to propane, and I set it at like 48, and so it stayed inside. Inside the van has been fine. Outside the van, like I showed you, I mean, it seems like the shop stayed above freezing. The freshwater tank is empty. I just didn't fill it up after I went camping last time. And the black and gray tanks were emptied, at the campground. So the tanks are empty. Now, that means they're not completely empty. I mean, there's still water in there. I didn't blow out the lines or anything. And then my neighbor Troy brought me some RV antifreeze. So I just dumped that into the tanks, the gray and black tank. Just to help that out a little bit. But the pipes still have water in them. I mean, I turned the pump off and opened the taps and got as much as I could out. But, I mean, there's only so much I can do. So, I think so far so good, because the shop hasn't gotten down below freezing, at least not enough to freeze that cup of water. So, hopefully the pipes that aren't inside the van are doing okay. All right, here's some stuff I didn't film in the van at the time because it was ridiculously cold, and I didn't want to open the van door if I didn't have to let the heat out, because obviously the goal was to keep it warm inside the van. So a couple things. First, you're going to ask, well, why didn't you have a heater in the shop? Well, I did. The only thing I had on hand was a small electric space heater. And I did have that in the shop, initially, but once the load shedding started, this particular heater, when the power came back on, you had to physically turn the heater back on. And I wasn't going to go outside every 45 minutes and turn the heater back on. So that heater just became moot once the rolling blackouts started. The other things I did inside the van, besides putting some antifreeze in the black and gray tank and turning the Truma on, was I opened all the cabinets like you would in your house to keep your pipes from freezing. So the cabinet under this galley sink, I took the bottom drawer out of the galley so that air could get, because under the galley cabinets are all the pipes and the water pumps. So I wanted as much heat to get in there as possible. And then I took the cushion and the deck off of the dinette bench so that more heat could get in and around the Truma. So those were some more things I did inside the van. So another thing, as I mentioned, I did put the Truma on propane heat, that first night that we started load shedding, because I was concerned that with the power going off and back on, that, it wouldn't keep up with the load of the Truma being on and the inverter being on and the tank heaters being on and the power going off. So I put it on propane. But the thing was, I had a full tank of propane and just one night dropped it down to 3/4 of a tank. And I knew that, so I couldn't run the propane heat the entire, next 6 days that we were going to be below freezing. And I also wanted to conserve the propane just in case I had to get out of the house for whatever reason and be in the van personally with the dog in an emergency situation. I wanted to conserve that. So I went back on shore power and just hoped for the best. And it worked. It worked out that even with the load shedding, the power going on and off, it still kept up with all the loads on electric for the rest of the time that we were below freezing. So bravo, Travato, and your systems, because you did keep up even with the power going on and off. So here's one thing to remember if you do have a lithium Travato. The inverter has to be on for the Truma to work on electric. So, and the other piece of the puzzle is if the inverter is turned off when you plug into shore power, it will automatically turn on. But when you unplug from shore power, it will automatically turn off. So whatever the state of the inverter is when you plug into shore power, that's the state that the inverter will go back to when you unplug from shore power. So obviously the electricity going out is just like unplugging from shore power. So I had to make sure that the inverter was on when I plugged into shore power so that when the electricity went off, the inverter would still be on even when the shore power went away. So if you're, plugging your van in storage or something, keep that in mind, with the state of your inverter and how it works with shore power. All right, let's see. Yep, it's still here, bud. The snow is still here. It's getting a little deep on you there. Well, I think we had our last snow for this particular winter storm last night. I'd say, yeah, we probably got another 4 inches. Whiskey thinks it's infinitely entertaining for about 30 seconds, and then he's over it. So this is day 7, I think, below freezing. Good thing we haven't had any tornadoes, because that storm shelter is not terribly accessible at the moment. Anyway, so day 7 below freezing. I think we've got another 3 to go. And right now I'm sitting at, I got power for 30 minutes and then 15 minutes off, and then power for 30 minutes and 15 minutes off. So still using my my fireplace to augment heat. Let's go see how Lucille's doing. Oh, well, we have a dead frozen bird. I'm gonna have to do something about that. Oof. Jesus. Okay. I'm not stepping on it. I'll get something out here to pick that up. Who knows? There's probably gonna be a lot of them by the time this is done. Oh. All right. Okay. Let's see how our cup of water is doing. Holy shnikes, y'all. I cannot believe that hasn't frozen. That is unbelievable. That is a testament to good insulation. This shop has actually managed to remain above freezing. That's crazy. All right, let's see how we're doing inside. Oh. All right. Yeah, okay. Okay. 45 degrees. I've got it on electric heat still. And okay, even with the load shedding, the electricity going off, I'm still maintaining my state of charge. And that's with the heater on electricity and the tank warmers on. So I'm feeling pretty good about that, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. Well, this should be our last day below freezing. Whiskey's enjoying it. What you doing? Let's go this way. So, sun's out. So things are starting to melt up on the roof line and whatnot. I still got some icicles. That's all right. Another 48 hours and this will all be gone. Enjoy it while it lasts, Whiskey Dog. Enjoy it while it lasts. So here's one last way that living in a van prepared me for this. So I'm on septic out here in the country. And that basically is just one big, black/gray tank out here in the yard. And it's an aerobic system. So as we discussed in my house video with the poo water swamp, different issue entirely, but the water comes out here and it goes through several chambers and the solids get removed from the liquids and then the liquids get treated and then the liquids get sprinkled. So there's 2 sprinklers. And this one, well, this one hasn't worked in a while. And you can tell because there's no water anywhere around it. So the way that this has worked this week is I have had to conserve basically my waste tank. Just like conserving my black and gray tank in the van. Because the more water I pump through my septic system that can't come out the other end through the sprinklers, the fuller the tank's going to get, and eventually my septic system will fail. So here's the sprinkler that's not working. And then you go down here and see the sprinkler that is still working, which is awesome. I'm kind of impressed because we've been below freezing for way longer than normal and certainly long enough for this thing to freeze, but it didn't. So as you can see, I basically have a big poo water ice skating rink. Funsies. But anyway, so that sprinkler's still working, but I don't want to overwork the system. So I've been real conservative on my water usage. So, definitely if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. No laundry, limited showering. So anyway, so that's another way that prepared me to survive the polar vortex and all the issues we've had down here in Texas. So the power came back on full time last night. So no more load shedding. Let's see how Lucille's doing. It's cold. I'll tell you that. My glass of water here. Still unfrozen. That is amazing. I gotta say, I'm impressed by my shop. I mean, I'm impressed always by Lucille, but I'm impressed by my insulated shop. That we have been below freezing, well below freezing, single digits, negative, wind chills in the negative 20s. And this shop, it never got cold enough, at least to freeze that cup of water. And if it didn't freeze that cup of water, then I don't think it froze the pipes in the van. I mean, one would imagine. So, let's see. Yeah, we're sitting at 45 degrees. Tank heaters are on still. I'm still on. I got it on electric. I got it set at 47. And yeah, I mean, the SOC is fine. I mean, again, the power's been back on permanently. So, I don't hate all of that. Yeah, so, I mean, we're still not above freezing. And we still got another night to go of below freezing. And then tomorrow, it's still only going to be in the mid 30s. So, I'm not going to shut down Lucille's extra heating with the tank heaters and the Truma on just quite yet. But we're through the worst of it. And the shop didn't freeze. And Lucille, I think, stayed reasonably warm. So I think we got through it. So anyway, we went from 0 degrees to 75 degrees in 7 days because Texas. I was very fortunate. I did not have any lasting effects of the storm. My one septic sprinkler that wasn't working, it defrosted and started working again. Other than the inconvenience of the load shedding, I really, I didn't have any real issues here. I was very fortunate. I have a lot of friends, who were not so lucky, burst pipes, camping in their living room for days and just trying to stay warm. It's hard when your house is in the 30s. A lot of people, had to go to hotels. So I was very fortunate. And I do think, believe it or not, as corny as it sounds, that having lived in a van and been hyper aware of, your utilities and where your power and internet and water is coming from and going, and, what affects, climate affects your systems. I think that was a big help. Also, obviously, having an insulated shop and a propane fireplace and a full tank of LP out in the yard was important, obviously. But yeah, I think just as far as being prepared and knowing what to expect and getting through it, I think, my time on the road probably helped with that. So anyway, I know this was partially van, partially house, but I just wanted to give y'all a little taste of what it was like down here in Texas. Lucille the van came through it with flying colors, no issues. I put everything back together and all the drawers and cabinets away and turned the heat off and the tank heaters off and turned the water pumps on and crossed my fingers and held my breath, and as far as I can tell, there are no leaks, no issues, none of the pipes froze, and she's all good to go. So anyway, I hope you found that helpful. If you have any comments, put them down below, and I hope to see you on the road.